Hello everyone. So we will be going into what we call as understanding your user needs and research planning week. Here first we will start with, if we have to understand the user needs and requirements, what all these terminologies even mean. So we will distinguish between user needs, wants and requirements in a design context. Then we will analyze user interactions through the different modalities. So what does the sensory modality mean? What is cognitive? What is motor system? Then we will apply the AEIOU framework that we learned in our previous week, and we will see how we are supposed to build empathy to uncover the latent user needs. What we mean by latent user needs is something which the user is even not able to express, or the user doesn't even think that that is their need. Then we will translate these user needs into actionable design requirements using our structured user research methods and then design methods. So let's go deeper. Needs versus wants versus requirements. So when I'm talking about user needs, these are the fundamental problems or goals that users are trying to achieve. So they might be unspoken or latent also. Users may not be able to articulate them directly, and so sometimes they will be able to articulate, sometimes and most of the times they are not able to articulate. So a designer needs to or a researcher needs to discover them through observation as well as by asking feedback. Needs are discovered through observation, inquiry and by empathizing with your users. So say for example, the user says, I need a reliable way to get to work on time. Now this can mean a lot of different things. You need to use empathy and you need to do observation how this person is reaching to that particular place. Maybe they are not able to reach on time to their place of work because of traffic, or maybe because it takes too long to book Uber, or maybe they have too many chores to finish at home before they can finish it and go, or maybe they are delayed because their maid is delayed. So when they have just made the statement that I need a reliable way to get to work on time, there may be many of these latent other needs they are not actually verbalizing. So you need to figure out what is it that it is delaying them. What do they actually mean by being on time for work, and what do they mean by this reliable? Then comes user wants. User wants are specific features or solutions which your users believe will address their needs. So wants are always expressed but may not reflect the true underlying need. So we were researching in certain slum areas of Mumbai, and we asked everybody, would you like to have sanitation facility within your home, so bathroom, because we as researchers thought that using a common toilet is not the most hygienic solution. They might also have to stand in a queue. So it presents lots of different kinds of challenges. However, they did not think that was their want. They all said that, okay, we are okay using common space with all the challenges that it presents right now. We actually want to have television and refrigerator and all these different kinds of things which we would think that they are not the most important things that one needs to have before having sanitation facilities. So the wants are expressed but may not reflect the true underlying need. They are subjective and influenced by the preferences of the social group in which you are trying to do the research. So example, I want a car with a sunroof and leather seats. Okay, I want that, but why do I want it? Or even can I afford to have that? Do I even need to have that? So those are the kind of questions which you need to also understand when somebody is saying these things. The latent need might be just that I want to have a certain kind of social pride, or maybe the latent need over there might be that I want to enjoy certain kind of luxury which I saw in certain kind of a movie. Now there is the third part, which is about user requirements. So these are specific measurable specifications that translate needs into design criteria. So requirements are actionable and testable. They bridge the user needs and the engineering constraint. So for example, the app must load within 2 seconds when I am using 4G connection. That is a requirement. Now let's understand these in further detail by taking an example. So the context is the same. Particular set of users, while they are trying to drive a car, they have certain wants and certain needs and certain user requirements. We will first look at the user needs. So let's say one of my user need is emotional and certain kind of strategic goals. So I want to understand, my persona here in this case is named as Maya. Maya needs a reliable way to get to work on time without stress. Maya needs a safe vehicle for her family transportation. Maya also needs a sense of confidence and control over the vehicle when she is driving the car. Now let's look at, if for the same user I was trying to understand their wants. What are the specific desires and preferences? So these are the wishes. So Maya wants voice activated control for the music and navigation. So she wants to say play jazz to her car and it should play. She also wants a heated seat and a premium surround sound system. She also wants a specific red color and a sunroof for her car. Now let's look at the user requirements, which are about the technical and functional specifications. These are some things that you will be putting into action in your design. So the system requirement over here is the vehicle shall start within 2 seconds of the key insertion into the vehicle. The functional requirement is the driver seat must adjust to accommodate drivers from the 5th percentile height to 95th percentile height. So somebody who is very short as well as somebody who is very tall, and you should be able to adjust. The performance requirement over here is the collision warning system must activate at distances of 50 meters from the obstacle. So now you can clearly see that when there is a user requirement, which is a specification, it is an actionable thing. When I have user want, it is all about their desires and their preferences. When it is a user need, they are about the essential prerequisites for the users to succeed with whatever task that they are trying to succeed and the emotional fulfillment that they are trying to achieve. Now the next thing that comes into picture is, let's say I'm trying to understand my user. How do I understand the user? So I have to understand 3 aspects of them: their sensory system, their cognitive system and their motor system. So the sensory system consists of the 5 senses. It helps in understanding how the user perceives the information which they are receiving from the product or the surroundings of the product. So this might be received through any of the 5 sense organs: sight, hearing, touch. Mostly the products are not supposed to be tasted, but if it is a product like you are making a cup which will again go into, your tongue or the lips are supposed to touch them, then you have to also consider the taste aspect of it. So the sensory system helps in perceiving the information. It helps in telling the user how you're supposed to use it. So as soon as I look at this particular stand over here and I see the hole over here, and I know that, okay, I can put my pen like this. So I perceive the information by the visual cues provided in this particular product. As soon as I put the pen inside it, I heard a small sound. So which I know that, okay, the pen has been securely put inside this particular product. Now comes the cognitive system. So once I perceive this information from any of my senses, the next task comes to my cognitive system. I have to make sense of it. So users learn, remember and make decisions using their cognitive system. So it covers all the mental models. Why did I decide to put this pen inside this hole? Because I can see that this is a product which is kept together with each other. They follow the same color schema. They have a similar kind of a texture, which tells me that these products might be belonging to the same category, even if I didn't know that this is so. And I just saw over here, yeah, it is standing. So of course this is the stand for this particular product. If I look at my digital board, if I see this, there is a loop somewhere, then I might also think that, okay, maybe I can put this pen as a loop over there. There are many devices where there is a magnetic corner, and because I know about it, I might also go around my space trying to see, can I magnetically attach it to somewhere in case I did not see this particular product first. So my cognitive system is helping me take these decisions. How am I supposed to put this pen? If none of them work, then naturally my reaction will be put it on the table. It has not been designed to keep it somewhere. So it covers all our mental models. These are also learned mental models. So say for example, green is safe and red is danger or stop. It's a learned mental model. And we have learned how to process the information that we perceive through our senses. Then comes this aspect of cognitive load. So if I present to you OTP, which says that the OTP is 9372, it is a 4-digit OTP. You will be able to remember it quite easily. Now I change this OTP to 6 digits. I say it is 937221. Then you can still remember it, but maybe you will have to read it couple of times and you have to keep repeating it in your mind if you have to travel from one room to another room to give this OTP to somebody. Now, as soon as I make it beyond this 6 digit, it becomes extremely difficult for you to remember it. So, usually OTPs are never beyond 6 digits. So, there is an aspect of how much cognitive load that you are presenting. If there is too much of cognitive load, people cannot remember all the content. Now comes to the motor system. So how users physically interact with something. So I have a digital board in front of me and I am supposed to pick up this pen and reach to all the corners of this digital board in order to be able to perform the intended task. So let's say I can put a circle over here, I can put a circle over here, I can put this circle on all the 4 corners. If I was supposed to mark something on the center of this particular screen, then in that case I wouldn't have to turn and twist my body a lot. But since the display screen that I am using is quite huge, whenever I want to reach to the corners, I have to engage more of my motor skills to do it. Now, users might be physically capable of doing it or not capable of doing it. So, the motor system ensures that the task that you offered them to do, whether they are able to physically do it or not. So, all kinds of clicks that you have to do, all kind of gestures, taps, the navigation, they all are dependent on whether your motor skills are able to do it. You might have done some errors of typing words when the words are too closely placed and you are trying to do a single hand typing on your mobile phone because your motor system was not capable of doing the right kind of placement of your finger. The older people grow, their motor skills deteriorate. So, the motor system determines the efficiency, error rate and physical accessibility within the design. So, you need to also understand your user in terms of their motor system. So, let's look at the example, the same example of driving the car. So, if I talk about the sensory system, what it is trying to do is, so this person is looking at the dashboard and looking at on the road in the front. This person might be also looking at the side mirrors and also the back mirror. So, all this is giving you visual feedback. You might also hear certain other vehicles passing by, or maybe somebody honking at you, or even the people who are sitting inside and talking about something. You might also have a music system running. They are all giving you audio input. When you are touching the steering wheel and driving, or you are operating some of the other controls to change the gearbox or by applying the brakes and all that, your haptic system is working. Now, my cognitive system. So, once I perceive the road, I might see another car or I might see a pedestrian. I am perceiving that information through the visual system. It may be a car, if it is honking, I am also perceiving the information through my auditory system. Then I am trying to make a meaning out of it. So, let's say in Indian context, if somebody is honking at a very high frequency, we make sense of that, meaning that this person is either interested in very rash driving or is in some kind of hurry and needs to be given space immediately. So, in the particular cultural system, we learn to make meaning of that information that we perceive through our auditory channel. Now, it also depends on the attention. So there might be people who are sitting with you and talking. They might be also fighting. You will have the audio system working, the music. You might be also playing an audio book. You are also seeing in front, on your sides, on the back. So they are all craving for your attention. Our cognitive system also tells you where to pay more attention. If we are too disturbed with too many things that we have to perceive together and try to make meaning out of it, we might end up with some errors in our driving and might have an accident also. I might also need to memorize certain things. So I am going to a particular place, and if I remember the path, I am activating my memory. In case I do not know the path, I might be also having a map open with me, and I am also trying to perceive that visual or audio feedback, whatever your Google Maps is giving you, and trying to make meaning and navigate accordingly. Our cognitive system helps us in doing all of these. Then comes the motor system. The motor system helps in precision steering. If my body has certain kind of physical problems, let's say I have arthritis, I have certain kind of motor limitations, there will be an effect of that on the way I am steering it, or the way in which I am doing a pedal actuation, or the way in which I am doing the gear selection. So the sensory, the cognitive and the motor system have to work in tandem to produce the result of driving. So if I am doing a user research, I need to understand all of these systems, because that is what defines a human being. Now let's look at the 4 dimensions of this user requirement. So when I spoke about user requirements, they were the actionable things. So my file should load within 2 minutes, or as soon as I put the key inside my car, the car should go into ignition mode within 2 seconds. Otherwise people will think that there is something wrong with it. So those are the user requirements. The user requirements can be classified into 4 categories: functional, social, emotional and contextual. So the functional requirements are what the product must do, the core task, the features and the performance. So I need to transfer money in under 30 seconds. That is the functional requirement if you are trying to use, let's say, mobile banking facility or UPI in the Indian context. The emotional requirement, how the product should make users feel. Do I trust the UPI? So when I am transferring the money, do I have trust that it will transfer it to the right kind of people? Do I feel good, the delight factor, when I am transferring it? Do I have confidence that the transfer has happened or not? So I need to feel confident that my data is also secure. Now coming to the social requirements. So how the product fits into users' social context. So the social context, identity in a particular society, their status or the kind of sharing needs that might they have. So example, I need to share my progress with my friends. So many of these apps about fitness, they have this feature where I can share my progress with my friends. Or if I want to order some food from somewhere, and I might want to share with everybody that today I had this great meal in this great place, and I can share this particular event. Then comes the contextual requirements. How environment, situation and device shape the interaction needs. For example, I need to use this mobile phone one-handed while I am trying to commute somewhere, because maybe my other hand is busy driving. It is of course not safe to do that. Or maybe I am in a bus or a train and I am holding a particular handle to anchor myself, and that's why I need to do this single-handed typing on my mobile phone while I am commuting the context. Let's look at it in terms of an example, the same in our driving context. So the functional requirements in this particular context is I need to have reliable vehicle controls. So the acceleration should have certain kind of sensitivity, which you will define in terms of a certain numeric parameters. The brake should have certain kind of sensitivity, again defined in numeric terms. The steering should again have certain kind of predictability. So I turn it by certain angle and it produces a certain kind of movement for my car. Then the instrumentation should be very clear. So I should be easily able to read the speed, the range and the alerts. I might also have this requirement of optimal visibility. So I want obstruction free view, which might mean different things in different times. So whenever you have your car, there are two pillars and they also give certain kind of obstruction. So you need to design each of these components on the car so that I can have as much as possible an obstruction free view. I should also be able to do effective night driving. So those are all my functional requirements. Now let's look at the emotional requirements. So when I'm sitting inside this car and I'm driving, I should have this feeling that there is this sense of safety and confidence. So I should have trust in the vehicle system and the vehicle's overall structure, which makes me feel that yes, I can drive this car. So you might have heard from many people that, oh, I don't like that particular car because it does not make me feel safe. So this is the emotional requirement that they have, which might be defined in many different ways. So how high your platform of the car is from the road, or how do you feel when you are engaging with the brakes, the clutches, the accelerators and the other systems. Then we also want to enjoy the driving experience. So how comfortable it is, how responsive it is, how you are engaging with the entire environment of the car, which might be like you want to ensure a child lock, or you want to switch on the music system, or you want to engage any other component of the car, the overall feeling of operating the car. Then comes the stress reduction. How intuitive the controls are, how much fatigue is the car producing overall in the entire environment of it. Then comes the social requirements. So if I drive a certain kind of a car, it might be bringing a certain kind of image to people. So let's say I'm driving an electric car, and in my society, electric car is associated with sustainability or progressiveness, and then it is building that image. Maybe I drive a car which costs 10 lakh rupees, and it gives a certain kind of social status, a professional image. So those are about the social requirements. I might also have certain kind of passenger and family related accommodation. So there should be comfort for my family. I have a young family, so I should be able to put child safety features into it. Then things like connectivity and sharing. So how easy it is to communicate with people sitting inside the car. How can I do media sharing within that? So all of them formulate part of your social requirements. Then comes the contextual requirements. So let's say adaptability to weather. So what happens if there is rain? What happens if it is very hot? Or what happens if it is very cold? Can my car deal with these different kinds of scenarios? How will I be doing navigation and route planning? How will I be doing, let's say, city driving? Should I have some assistive devices which help me in parking, or let's say blind spot monitoring on the car? So the AEIU framework, which we discussed in our last week, can be used to formulate these questions, while you also try to understand that you have to capture user needs, user wants, user requirements. The requirements have to be captured as functional, social, emotional and contextual. And when you are trying to look at their needs and wants, you have to also study their sensory system, their cognitive system and their motor system. So in order to do all of these, I will be using the AEIOU framework, because people will be able to articulate them and I will be able to observe them when I am trying to observe in terms of the activities, the environments in which they are doing it, the interactions that they are having with the people or the objects that they use for performing the activities, or the environment in which they are, the objects and the users involved. So when we are trying to do this particular research, we should always have a requirement elicitation checklist. What it implies is, when I am planning this user research, I have to see whether I have observation parameters or research questions or questionnaires which are able to identify needs versus wants. So have you distinguished between the latent needs from expressed wants? Why does the user need this? Do you have adequate ways to identifying them? Then if it is there, then you tick mark that. The next checklist that you have to do is functional requirements, if are they being documented because of your user research. So what must the product do? What are the success criteria? The third one is about the emotional and social dimensions. How should users feel? What does success mean to your users? The fourth one is the context. Are you able to map the context or not? Which will be about where, when, and how will users interact with whatever you're trying to design. What constraints exist in that particular context? Next is accessibility considerations. Are requirements inclusive across different kinds of abilities and contexts? And are you able to capture them through your user research or not? Then the last one is about the requirement prioritization. Which requirements are must-haves and which are the ones which are nice-to-haves. So your user research should be able to also capture these aspects. So the job to be done is not the product. It is the progress that people are trying to make in a particular circumstance. Your product is just a tool that they are using in order to achieve that. So your purpose in your user research should be to understand that progress, that purpose, and then design appropriate products or product service systems which help to achieve that. And then you can really feel, and your users will feel, yes, my job is done. So the key takeaways from this lecture are: needs, wants, and requirements are three different things, and you need to understand them. You should think multidimensionally. So the requirements span functional, emotional, social, and contextual dimensions, and you need to holistically address them whenever you are trying to do user-centered design and, as a result, user research. You can use the AEIOU framework, and we will be discussing about another one, empathy mapping, later on in our future weeks. You will be using both of these frameworks to understand all these different aspects that we covered. Then you convert the insights into action. So structured elicitation translates raw user insights into actionable, testable design requirements. These are some of the references for further reading. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.